Welcome back to the channel, and hopefully this is going to be another easy video for us. Now we're going to be using the sweep command, and you can also see that this is kind of some kind of bent pipe. So we're going to have to create a three-dimensional sketch. So if that's anything that you're interested in, let's go ahead and stick around, and once again we will be using Solidworks. Okay, so here we're going to start off by selecting the new icon. We're going to create a part and we'll hit OK. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change my units from being millimeters to inches. And that's just going to be selecting this fly up here and then selecting the inch, pounds, and seconds. Alright, next I'll go over to the sketch command, and then I'll start with the three-dimensional sketch, which is located here. We'll next click the line command. And like I like to do is I usually like to draw about 3 or 4 lines, and that's usually about enough that I can handle so the part don't go too crazy. So I'll create a line here, and then we have something that goes up here, and then we'll send it around this way. Now I'm purposely making these lines a little crazy. Remember that when you're dealing with a three-dimensional sketch, you always have to know what your UCS is doing, or the orientation of it. So when I select this line here, I want it to go along the Z-axis. So I'm going to select that line, tell it to go along the Z-axis, and then I'll go ahead and give it its parameter, which is going to be 10. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit more. Let's hit escape. I'll go ahead and select this line. This is going to be along the Y-axis, so I'll select here, and then I'll give it its parameter height, which in our case should be 5. Alright, next we're going to escape out of that line. We'll go back to this one. This is going to be on that Z-axis again. So we're going to send it along the Z, and this one has a distance of 8. Okay, so now that I have those lines there, I'll go ahead and create the rest of my lines here. So I'll go back to the line command, starting from this endpoint. I want to go this direction. And then I want to come back this direction. We'll go down. And then we'll come back out this direction. Okay. Let's just verify that we got some things here done. So this one is also going to be along the x-axis, and then it has a distance of 10. We can go a little bit further. So let's go with this line here. I'll select it. I know that it's going to be on the z-axis. And it looks like it went the opposite direction. So let's go ahead and hit escape. Let me zoom out. I'm going to grab this line and drag it this direction, right? Alright, so now it's at the point where it looks like I need to do some dimensioning to it. Let's go ahead and undo back a couple of steps. There we go. Let's go ahead and start putting some dimensions on this and kind of locking it so it won't go crazy on us. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the dimension on here, which all of these should automatically, come up. So that one has a distance of 10. Remember that this one has a height, and it's already set to 5. The next one here, we have this set to a distance of 8. And then we have this distance here going across. That's also going to be a distance of 10. Okay. So now with these numbers locked in, this shape is really locked in now, so it shouldn't be moving and doing anything crazy. So when I select this line here and tell it to, hey, stay along the z-axis, and if it goes the other way, that's okay. We should be able to drag this by grabbing the endpoints like so. Okay, now these two lines, and I'm curious that if these two lines will actually be collinear to each other. Let's see what relations it'll try. And this is me kind of experimenting. I would normally put a dimension on here, but I'm curious to see what relations that it would fall on. So if I try to make this collinear, okay, that's what I was expecting, something weird to happen. All right, let's go ahead and undo back on that. Let's do an undo. Okay. So I can just go ahead and select this line now, and then I'll go ahead and put the parameter of 8 on it. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and put our dimension on it. And sometimes I like to experiment, and that might be good sometimes and it may be bad. And I guess now that I think about it, I could have put an equal constraint on it. Let's go ahead and drag this endpoint going this direction. Yeah, these last two, I think I'll do that. So this line here, and I select this line, they should be equal to each other, so I should be able to get away with doing that. And then these two lines should be equal to each other. So remember, you have to hold down that shift button in order to make them equal. Okay, let's go ahead and put our radii on here. So we'll go to the fillet command. We'll set this number equal to 1. And then we're just going to click these endpoints. So I'll select here. And we're going to keep kind of sending this around. That's fine. It has some, what's going on is that it's saying that I have some of those lines that are equal and they are no longer equal, basically. So it's saying that something else is happening, but that's okay. For what we need it to do, that's going to be totally fine. So that's just, and hopefully you can understand what it's saying. It's saying that since you set these two lines equal to each other, when I change this one, they're no longer going to be equal to each other. That's all that it was explaining. All right, so I'll go ahead and hit the check mark there, and you can see that this shape is actually completed here. Let's go ahead and hit the check here, and then we're going to exit the sketch here. Next, we're going to create a regular 2D sketch. So we're going to select here. I'm just going to expand here, and then I'll find the front plane. I like to kind of work with it at an angle here. Let's go ahead and go to a circle. We're going to start at the origin. We're going to click there. And I'll place it here. And this has a diameter of 1. So let's go ahead and put a dimension on here. And like we said, it's going to be set to 1. Okay. So everything now is all what we need for a sweep. We're going to first exit out of the sketch. We're going to go over to the features. We're going to take a look at the sweep. And let's see what it selects for us. So it was able to find the profile, which is the circle. Now it's asking me about the path. Once I select that line, it should select all the rest of them. Let's go ahead and hit the check mark. And then we're going to go ahead and shell this, right? So we're going to go to the shell command, which is located here. The thickness of our shell will be at 0.0625. Looks like I typed that in wrong. Okay. And then we're going to remove that face and that face. Once we hit the green check mark there, you should see that it hollows that out. Let's go ahead and hit the space bar, and then we're going to tell it that we need this to be an isometric. And that looks like that should be everything we needed to create this part. Rather simple, right? So just remember that anytime you're creating that 3-dimensional sketch, just kind of follow it through. Don't try to do too many lines at one time. And the rest of the stuff is kind of self-explanatory with the shell command and the sweep command. But always remember, sweep, profile, and a path. Remember, when we do revolve, that's got to need a profile and an axis. And just an extrusion is nothing more than just a profile and you're giving it a distance. Okay? So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching this one. And as always, keep drafting, and I'll see you in the next video.